just about everybody who starts a home church is leaving the church that they were already a part of. And that brings up certain issues that if you have any level of integrity or character or concern to be pleasing to the Lord, you don't want to do any damage on the way out. You don't want to be divisive. And often the accusations are going to come flying at you when you begin to consider this move or communicate this move to people. Oh, that person's being divisive. They're splitting the Lord's church. You're going to hear all this opposition to you leaving. And I'm going to talk about in a moment why that opposition arises. But I wanted to give you some advice on how to leave in a healthy manner where you've done your due diligence, you've tried your best to do no harm, to not be divisive, to be loving, but also to be firm in following the calling that God has laid upon your heart. That can be a very difficult balance. You've probably never done this before. And I can speak from experience where we left a church that I was on paid staff from, and we prayed through that transition and came up with some things that we felt convicted to do that worked incredibly well that I'm going to share with you in this video. The first thing is the fact that you're even asking this question, how do I leave without causing division or harm, shows that you have the right heart in this. A divisive person would not ask that question. A divisive person would just divide. A divisive person would try to do harm. A divisive person would just start picking people off and going after stealing the sheep and trying to convince people to go with them and leave this place and split the church. That would be division. The people who ask me this question are not trying to do any of that. You're not trying to do any of that, and yet you're going to get called divisive by somebody in this whole thing. So what do you do? How do you handle it? Here's what we did. We prayed about this. Again, I'm on staff. I'm being paid by the church to do the church work. So it's an even more complicated situation because I'm a leader within the church and I'm leaving to go do something else. And there might be a great fear that people would go with me and that might divide the church. Well, we were determined to not divide the church. So here's what we said. Well, the first thing is we believe that God is calling us to start a home church. And here are some reasons why. Lay out some of the story, lay out some of the prayer, talk about how God's answered it. Okay, that's the first thing. This is a calling that we believe is from God, and so we need to follow God's lead. This is why we're having this conversation. God initiated this. That's the second part. Not only did God call, we need to obey his call. And so that's what we're going to do. So the third thing is we're not going to steal any sheep. We are not going to try to recruit anyone from this congregation. If people ask us what we're doing, we will tell them the truth, but we will not actively recruit to take people from the congregation to go along with us. If people come and they say, what is going on? What are you doing? What is this? We will clearly communicate with them what God has laid upon our hearts. We will not try to invite them or draw them away from you, but if they ask, we'll tell them. And last, if somebody does come and they say, we do want to be a part of what you're doing, we will say to them this. Is there anything that is going on in this other church that you need to reconcile? Or is there any division or pain or sin that needs to be remedied that you're just avoiding? Like, don't leave that church to come over here and leave things undone that you need to do. So we will point them back to you, and we will point them back into healthy conversation, back into reconciliation, back into resolution, so that we are not an escape mechanism for anybody in the congregation. So before they come to us, they need to go back to you. And if they still decide that they want to come along with us, we cannot stop anyone from being where they believe God is calling them to be. So we will welcome them and accept them, but that's the process that we will follow every time. And that worked really, really well for us. As far as I know, there weren't any hiccups with that. I don't know if there are any hard feelings on the other end. I just know that we did our best to be faithful and to do our part. And to follow Matthew 18, when Jesus says, if someone sins against you, you go to them, and then you have that conversation. Sometimes people want to leave church A to go to church B to avoid doing what Jesus said to do. Well, they've never even known that Jesus said to do that. They don't even know to go do it. So we're going to inform them and reinforce that biblical principle of resolving sin, resolving conflict. And all doing this without reinforcing codependency, all doing this while being faithful to our calling, all doing this while being direct, while having healthy boundaries. And I'm going to tell you one other little piece of advice on this that somebody passed on to us that proved to be exactly right. When you leave a church, you may have some people in mind who you think to yourself, I bet so-and-so will probably come along at some point. And because they've talked about things that resonated with you, things that were on your heart. You just feel so aligned with them that you think that they would come and be a part. And I'm going to tell you, probably none of them will come with you. As strong as those people had feelings about the church that you're leaving, they're probably going to stay because they don't feel the same calling. They don't feel the same urgency that you have about this. And you're going to look at it, scratch your head and go, we're clearly doing all the things we talked about we wish the church would be doing, and why would they stay? But they're going to stay. They're probably going to stay. There'll be some exceptions maybe, but just don't count on that. God will put his people where he wants them to be, but people have a very hard time getting escape velocity from the church that they're a part of, because maybe they're codependent, their relationships are strong, they have an attachment to something there that is going to keep them there. Don't try to do Jesus' job for him. Jesus' job is to put people where they need to be. Jesus' role in the church you're leaving is to help that church. If Jesus has called you to leave a church and to start something new, he's going to take care of the place that you left, one way or the other. Even if they close, it's still all kingdom business. It's not your job to keep the thing open. So let's be kind, let's be direct, let's have healthy boundaries, let's be loving, clear, and let's try to do this with absolute integrity so that we do not do any harm. This whole idea that someone's going to accuse you of being divisive may well be the work of Satan. He's trying to keep you from leaving, and he's going to raise up people to oppose you, to keep you right where you are, and it's going to make it even more difficult to make the decision to leave. But if God has called you to do this, you need to follow his lead. You need to do what God's calling you to do, regardless of what anybody else has to say about it. And you cannot control their thoughts. All you can do is to do your part, which is to be loving, is to be kind, is to be faithful and obedient, to be direct, and to not divide the church you're leaving. All that can be done as best you can do it on your end. You cannot control the other side of this relationship, so just do your part. If you're really certain that God is calling you to do home church and that it's time to leave the church that you were a part of for however many years, you probably have some deep relationships there. You were probably serving there because it sounds like you have a heart to be involved and to take your faith seriously and to move it into action. So you are probably an integral part of the congregation that you're leaving on some level, and that means you're going to leave a gap. There are going to have to be roles that get filled. They're going to have to find volunteers and train people and all those things, and that can be a headache for the church you're leaving, and that can cause them to seriously not want you to leave, and the people in that church may well have not prayerfully considered how to handle you when you offer up your new direction. So instead of being prayerfully and lovingly considerate of the fact that God may be calling you into something different, they're going to want to keep you right where you are. And they're going to start saying things and doing things to not allow the dynamics to change or you to make this transition, because that means they're going to have to do more work. That means that they're going to have to fill more roles. And that's not something that they want to think about. They're already being worn out by the church machine as it is, and you're making more work for them, it seems, by following this calling from the Lord. This codependency can set in very quickly. And the codependency works like this. They're going to have to do more work. They're going to have to fill more roles. So they're going to be like, well, we need you to stay because no one else will run the children's ministry the way you did. And they're going to start appealing to your worth. They're going to start appealing to your effectiveness, to your mastery of things, and that there isn't anyone like you who could do all the things you ever did. Well, hey, that's just not true. God has people everywhere. God can raise them up. God can do it, or those things just aren't going to get done. But for them to put that back on you is really a shame, because, and I think in some sense that opposition is spiritual warfare, because they're trying to keep you from your calling. And I'm not saying they're demonized people. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that Satan can use even the best of intentions to subvert the plans of the Lord. So you're going to have to be firm in your conviction if you feel called to the Lord to do this. The co on them is, oh no, we got to fill all these roles. Let's say really nice things about you and that you're irreplaceable and all this. And you're going, oh, I'm irreplaceable. This is the co. Oh, wow. People think really highly of me. I better just keep doing what I'm doing. Don't fall into that trap. God is moving. And we're helping people in various countries and states around the United States and the world to start home churches, and I'm inviting you into that. I'm putting a link into a webinar that we run that explains exactly how we do that, and I hope that you can register for that, and we will be in touch if you will just follow that link. I'm going to put up another video about home churches that I hope you'll take a few minutes to consider. God bless you. Watch this video, like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.